Well, would you look at that? It finally decided to be a nice Sunday instead of a cranky, rainy one. It's definitely an improvement. Went out and about garage sailing the other day. Made a few finds. Guess I'll start with the first one right here. Look at this thing. This isn't anything too fancy. It's just a little refrigerator from General Electric. So I decided for the garage here it would be wonderful to have a handy little garage fridge, you know, just something you could stick some drinks in and things like that. And this thing, I would say this probably, judging by its design, probably dates from the late 70s, early 1980s. It's an R12 system, has a Danfoss compressor in it, made in Germany. Don't know where the unit itself was assembled, but as you can see, maybe as you can see, probably not by the time YouTube compression gets done with it, but it's running quite cold. Well, I know how I can show you. I can do better than that. I just hit some of these refrigerant lines back here. Oh wow, it's actually below the limit of my thermometer. Yeah, it won't give me... well, there we go. Sidewalls give me 11.5. Although the Keykeeper's Radio Shack thermometer is not as quick to respond as mine is. His reported this coil running at some negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit in places. So I guess you could say the cooling system on this thing is plenty healthy. Yeah, I need to take that sticker off there. And then down here we have the refrigeration compartment. I need to give this thing a good cleaning because it sure does smell musty. But it's definitely cooling quite well. Light bulb is good, but either the switch or the socket's bad. I'm not sure which one. And I was kind of worried when I got this thing. Let's see what this is. This is a General Electric TB13SGE, and it has 10.5 ounces of refrigerant 12 in it. So I don't know exactly when this thing was manufactured, but like I say, I'm thinking mid to late 70s or very early 1980s. I was kind of worried when I got this thing home. I thought somehow I might have damaged it, because look what's over here. See, this is the refrigeration cooling plate here in the background, and if you look over here, you see there's an ouchie. And I thought, oh no, that's going to be a disaster. Surely that will have let all the refrigerant out. Well, I guess I was wrong, because the thing is still working beautifully. I'm not sure what that coil-like structure is supposed to be, but the actual cooling hardware is mounted behind that. So I don't know if maybe that had some kind of thermal transfer fluid in it or what. This thing does smell a little musty, as I said before. Needs to be cleaned out. Has an energy saver setting, which is very interesting, because where I'm familiar with that, usually that is used to adjust the defrost timing cycle, if my understanding is correct. And this thing does not have a frost-free design. Well, it's not fully frost-free. It's partially frost-free. The refrigerator automatically defrosts when the compressor shuts down. And as you can see, there's a little... Let's see here. Dump these on the floor, and then maybe the Keykeeper will get a surprise when he opens one of them up. Serves him right for stealing my cola. But as you can see, there's a little drain right down there where the condensate water would go off of this evaporator coil here in the refrigeration compartment. You can also see that it's leaked. I need to fix it because it's pulled away from the back wall of the fridge, and I think that's just a job for some super glue. Oh. Okay, now let's see how cold that back panel's getting. That's right at freezing. It's a little colder over there. I think the lowest temperature I recorded on that thing yesterday when I started up for the first time was about negative 8.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So I would say the cooling system in this thing's in pretty good shape. If I give it a good scrubbing out like I need to do, I'll be set. So that's the story on that thing. Should make a great little garage fridge. Then up here is a VCR. Kind of a late model. Fairly cheap and simple. But altogether, probably not too terribly bad if all you need is a basic VCR. Still has a decent amount of metal in the transport. So they wanted $10 for that. I offered them $5. And then the other piece. This is an all-steel equipment ASE desk, and as you can guess, it is made entirely of steel. It's got some scuffs and scrapes on it, but it's not been beat to death. And this top, this is probably the best part of the whole deal right here. This top actually lifts off to reveal the real desktop underneath it. The real desktop has a ding in it right there. So the guy who owned this desk made himself a replacement top that is in just absolutely beautiful condition. And there was a nice bonus with this too. Let's see if I can find it here. So ordinarily I have to leave this kind of work to the key keeper because I just get in trouble with it. Let's see here. I have the key that locks the desk drawers. How often do you find one of those? Not terribly often. Of course, right now it's terribly muggy out here. That brings me to my last find. This is my last find, and I didn't find this at a garage sale. I was driving home from the hardware store here in town and drove by a house where I saw a refrigerator and a chest freezer that had been tossed out. And it was kind of an ominous sign because it looked like maybe they'd had a flood in their basement or something, because the bottom of the fridge was really rusty and the compressor was coated in rust and everything. The freezer had flies buzzing around it, and I didn't think that was too good of a sign, mainly because I am not a strong-stomached person. They had thrown out a number of other things, a color TV, some stuff like that, and this little blower right here. That's not the prettiest blower you've ever seen. It's got a fair amount of rust on it, stuff like that. It's full of dryer lint. It needs badly to be cleaned. And the little motor needs not only to be rewired, because wiring that's on there right now is total garbage. It's an Emerson electric motor. The blower itself was made by the Brundage company. I'm not sure where they're out of. It does say on there, but I can't really read it that well because that thing is covered in grease. Anyway, I decided to hook this thing up without paying too much attention to the wiring, and I almost got to find out about popping the circuit breaker over here in the garage because the two wires weren't even hooked up to the motor. They were just sitting inside the wiring container on the motor, just kind of touching one another, but I guess I didn't make good enough contact because I never blew the circuit breaker. Didn't get to hear any fun pops or anything like that. The wiring that came with it, which is what it's running off of right now, is rotten and crackly, so I need to get rid of that. Need to take this fan and take it down to the car wash and blast it out because the thing is full of dryer lint. I can't imagine what they were doing with it. You know, maybe they were feeding a dryer into it for all I know, or maybe their dryer doesn't have an outdoor exhaust. It's hard to tell. But as you can see, that little motor's in good shape. It's running quite nicely. Needs to be aligned. Right now the motor's shifted a little bit to the left as I'm looking at it right now. But this wasn't a bad find, for considering all I had to do was just hold my breath and grin and bear the stench of rotten meat in a forgotten chest freezer to get this thing away from there. But I got through it. It was only about 30 seconds, and by holding my breath, I made it. So there you have it. It's just a little update on some of the things that I had the good fortune of finding this weekend.